Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Got my 2005 Ford Excursion 6.0 liter diesel, and I'm having code P0299 show up saying that the turbocharger is under boost or over boost, and I'm pretty sure it's under boost because I'm not getting much power out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and try a few things like cleaning the exhaust back pressure sensor, also the map sensor. Take a look at that, and if that doesn't fix it, then I'll go ahead and pull the turbo. We'll clean it out, take a look at the unison ring and also the VGT solenoid. Go ahead and pop your hood. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna look at is gonna be the easiest. It's gonna be your map sensor, which is your manifold absolute pressure. And it's located right here on this bracket. As you can see, your oil cap. So right here on the passenger side firewall. And then there's a hose that goes down and connects right here into your intake. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this hose, because I think these start to dry rot right in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this whole hose here, and we'll take a look and see if I need to replace it. We'll start out there. And I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just pull this whole bracket because it connects right up there. It's kind of hard to get pliers in there to get this hose off. So let's just go ahead and remove this whole bracket. So go ahead and grab yourself a 10mm. Let's just pull these 3 nuts right here. And then go ahead and pull this off. And as you can see, there's our map sensor here. And I think I'll leave it attached. Just if I can get this around this. I'll leave that attached. I just want to remove this hose right here. So I'll just get me some pliers here. Try to get this off to here. Get that clip off there. And then let's see if we can just pull this off here. See, just like that. And get this out of the way. And then same thing on this one down here on the intake. Let's see if I can get my pliers in here. Squeeze that clip. Get it up kind of out of the way. And let's pull this off. And then try and feed it under here. And then with that off, I got a little pipe cleaner here. So you can use a paper clip or something. Just shove that down in there and let's see if, just make sure that ain't clogged. So I'll just stick this down in that hole there. And I can feel that there's nothing clogging it. It is a little dirty, but I think we're good on that. Just do it one more time here. Okay, so taking a look at our hose here, doesn't look to be too bad. This part right here is where it connects up into the intake there, and you can see it's kind of rotted right in there, so it's probably not getting a good tight fit on there. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and replace this hose, even though I don't think this is the issue, but while we're at it, might as well just replace it. And let me take this clamp off. And let's just inspect this the rest of the way. And I don't see any obvious signs. And this side looks okay as well, going up to the map sensor. So let me see if I got some 1/4-inch hose just laying around here, and we'll see if we can replace this real quick. All right, so luckily I did have some 1/4-inch hose just lying around here. So I went ahead and just kind of cut it about the same length, maybe just a hair longer to be safe. So we'll go ahead and throw this back on here. And then I'll get my clips on as well. So go ahead and grab your new hose here. We'll go back underneath the way it was before. Get that connected onto the intake here. And let's go ahead and put our clip on here, or a hose clamp. Grab your map sensor and your bracket here. Let's go ahead and connect this end here. Get that tight. Just like that. And then again, this was over this bracket, kind of like that. It's up in here. So it's sitting kind of like that. Get your nuts. So moving on to the exhaust back pressure sensor. It's kind of buried down in here. You can see our dipstick right here. You can see it right there connecting to the thermostat housing. That's your exhaust back pressure sensor. And then you got a tube that goes down. See if you guys can see. But it goes down right there to the exhaust manifold. And that tube gets clogged with carbon and everything. So we're gonna have to pull that as well. And in order to do that, I'm gonna have to pull the air intake here. Your guys's might be different if you don't have the S&B, you'll have the stock intake. So I'll go ahead and get this all pulled here, and then we'll take a look and see if we need to remove anything else here. Okay, so as you can see, that gives us a lot better access here to your exhaust back pressure sensor, and then of course our tube going down the exhaust manifold here. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and just unplug the wiring connector here. So you get that little tab on the back side here, and push up on that, and then make sure you don't lose this yellow gasket either. And then if you got an inch or a 25mm socket, deep well, let's go ahead and remove the sensor here. Doesn't take much to remove it. And you can see, it doesn't look too bad, but there is quite a bit of soot and everything on here. So we'll get this cleaned up. Let's go ahead and remove the tube here now. And then if you guys got a line wrench, that'll work the best, or you can just use a 16mm. Let's go ahead and loosen this right here. If you can get it broken free with your line wrench, you can use your 16. Loosen it the rest of the way here. Okay, trying to get my camera in there so you guys can see, but here's where it goes into the exhaust manifold, the bottom portion of that tube, and that'll be 16mm as well. Let's see if I can get this broken free. And that is on there rusty because of the exhaust manifold and the heat. Let's see if I can get it broken free first. Okay, so I got that broken free. You should be able to just feed this through, pull it out, and there's that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our exhaust back pressure sensor here, and as you can see, like I said, it doesn't really look too bad, but I'll go ahead and clean that as well. And then our tube, same thing, Doesn't seem to be clogged with a bunch of carbon or soot. So, but I'll go ahead and clean it while it's off. So I don't think this is our issue. So again, I'll use some just some of these cheap pipe cleaners you can get from Walmart or Amazon. And I'm gonna go ahead and just use some carb cleaner here. I'll spray this down in the tube, and let's get all that cleaned out. So you can see there's quite a bit of carbon that came out of there. But I'll stick this through, or I'll fold it in half here. Makes it a little thicker, and then you can just stick this in there, or if you got a coat hanger or clip or something, you can stick that in there as well. And you can see, so there's actually quite a bit that comes off of this. So I'll go ahead and keep cleaning this, and then we'll move on to the sensor here. Okay, so I got this tube all cleaned out. You can see I use quite a bit of pipe cleaners here, and you can see all the soot and carbon that's on the paper towel here. But now if I spray it with carb cleaner, it's running clear through there, so we should be good on that. And now our sensor, I don't like using, carb cleaner or brake cleaner on electronic components here. So I think what I'll do with this is just take a clean pipe cleaner, and you can see there's a little bit in there. So I'm just gonna kind of stick this in here, and then I'll just kind of turn it around here. And try to get out as much as I can. You can see there's a little bit coming out of it. So I'll continue to do this till I find no more soot or carbon is coming out of here. And like I said, just stick it up in there. I'll just keep turning it. Just try to get as much of that out as I can. Okay, so as you can see, got this all cleaned up. And also went ahead and took a wire brush and cleaned up some of the threads on here. And you can see how it kind of gets pitted on here. But should be okay. Let's go ahead and throw this back in. Like I said, I don't think this was the issue as well. And neither was this exhaust back pressure tube. So I think it's going to be in the turbo. And then also, guys, before we put our tube back on, let's go ahead and clean that going into the exhaust manifold there. Let's just stick this down in there and make sure that's all cleared. Nothing obstructing that as well. And you can see it's a little dirty there, but not too bad. And then lastly, let's go ahead and clean the thermostat housing bracket here where it connects to. So let's clean where it goes through right there. So I'll just use some carb cleaner and then pipe cleaners again. Just spray this in here. And you can see quite a bit came out of that as well. So let me go ahead and spray some more. Again, just get all that carbon out of there. Okay, once you get that clean, let's go ahead and stick our tube back down under our wires here. And then we'll get that exhaust side connected here. Get that started. And then with that lower portion started, I like to just get this end started too, and then we'll tighten them at the end here. So get that one up in there. And let's go ahead and tighten those. They're 16mm. Okay. Next, go ahead and grab your sensor here and let's go ahead and get that started. Let's see if I can reach around here and get it started by hand here. Then go ahead and grab your 1-inch socket here, and let's tighten that. And this only goes about halfway on the threads here, so you don't want to over tighten it either. I think it's like 8 foot-pounds if you use a torque wrench. So I'm gonna go about right there, kind of where it was, because my clip for my harness was on the back side there. So let's go ahead and plug this in here. So it was kind of sitting there like that. Get that plugged in and you should hear it clip. So it should be good right there. Okay guys, so I'm pretty sure the exhaust back pressure sensor and the map sensor up there wasn't the issue for my low boost here. So I believe it's in the VGT solenoid, or the unison ring is frozen up in my turbo there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start pulling the turbo, since I already got all this stuff out of here. So I'll go ahead and start removing the rest of this stuff here. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect both batteries as well, just to be on the safe side here. So let's take your 8mm and let's get those disconnected here. And grab yourself a 7/16. Kind of like that. Same thing down here on the bottom side. Get that loose. And let's see if we can get this one off. And then we should be able to just lift this out of here. Next, I'm going to disconnect this coolant hose going to the degas bottle here. Get that out of the way. Then get you an 8mm, and you got 2 bolts holding your degas bottle on here, because we need to get this wire loom up out of the way so we can get that out of the way. And then let's see if we can just kind of, there's like these tabs here that go into this bracket. So you got to kind of lift up. And let's just see if we can kind of tilt it down, just kind of like that. Like I said, just enough to hopefully disconnect this wire loom here and get this up out of the way. So then take your trim tool, and you can see you got the Christmas tree style clip right there. So if you got a trim tool, go ahead and pop that out of there. Same with this one right here. So now that's kind of free. And then let's go ahead and disconnect these ones here. As you can see, this one's missing and it's broke. So go ahead and pop these ones out. Try not to break the plastic. And you can see this is starting to crack. Plastic just gets brittle under all this heat. that. And then you got one right here as well. Disconnect that one. And then over here, back at the Degas bottle, so you got a little, it's kind of hard to see, but back in there, it kind of sits down on a little bracket there, so you got to lift up, and we'll pull out a little more. See if we can get this out of here. So you got to kind of, there we go. That gives us a little more room here. And as you can see, that's that little bracket I was talking about. And let's see if we can get this harness up over the bracket now. Just like that. Then what I like to do is take a small bungee cord and just go underneath this. And then just kind of get it up, hook it up somewhere under the hood here. Just to get that hanging up out of the way there. Then go ahead and grab you a flathead screwdriver, and as you can see, I wonder if that's my issue right there. So you can see this tab is broken off that goes right here. It's the same as what's on this side. So that could be the issue right there, where it's you can see it kind of slides out, so maybe it's not getting a good connection. So let's go ahead and pull this anyways though. So it looks like that. Like I said, you should have another tab right there that locks it in. So that could be the actual issue here. All right guys, so like I said, this could be my issue, but I'm still gonna pull the turbo because I want to take a look at that unison ring anyways and clean it out if it needs it. Plus, it's hard to tell, but I got oil down here in the valley, and I'm gonna see where this oil leak's coming from as well. It's been making a mess on my road and driveway here for a while now. Just haven't had time to mess with it. So let's go ahead and got another sensor down here. Let's go ahead and unplug this. So I got a sensor right here. Let's go ahead and pull that just to get it kind of out of the way here. Just squeeze on the tab with your thumb right here. Pull up. That one disconnects. You can see here's a closer look at it. All right, so before I get started here, I'm gonna take some WD-40 or PB Blaster, and these exhaust clamps on the back here can be a pain to get off. So I'm gonna go ahead and just spray some of this WD-40 on there. Just kind of soak it in it, and hopefully that'll loosen it up here. And then of course, same thing on this side too. Of course, I'm running out. Just kind of soak that in it. Something like that. Go ahead and let that soak. Okay guys, so I let that sit for a little bit here and soak. Let's go ahead and pull this backside exhaust off here. Grab your 7/16. And let's go ahead and loosen that. And I like to just go pretty loose here. You don't have to go all the way. And then you should be able to get your hands back in here, and you'll kind of squeeze it, and then this back part will lift out of here. So let me try and show you here. So if I turn my clamp here, and actually let me go a little looser here. So kind of like that. Falling here. So you'll take it, and push, and you can see that unlatches it right there like that. And then you can get the clip out of here, or like that. And then watch out, it may fall down on you, so you may have to retrieve it. You can see ours is already loose here. I do have an aftermarket exhaust. So if you have the original exhaust, I think there's a clip that goes right on the top here and it goes over the turbo. So you may have to just lift up a little bit and pull off, or loose there. So same thing on this side, but I got just a ratcheting wrench here I'm gonna use instead. So get up on that. And go ahead and loosen that. And if you can get it by hand here. And then I'll do kind of the same thing here. Got your clamp. Go ahead and pop that loose there. So I got it undone. It's kind of sticking on there though. See if I can stick a pry bar back in here and try to pop that clamp off here. There we go. So you see that kind of broke free there. And I'll just kind of get this out of the way here. Okay, so now we go ahead and start pulling some of the turbo bolts here. They're going to be 10 millimeters, and I'm going to go try for this back one first. It's probably going to be one of the hardest ones. I'm not sure if you guys can see, but it's going to be right back in here. Like I said, it's going to be a 10 millimeter. So what you're going to have to do is grab like a 6-inch extension and a shallow 10 millimeter, and then just go over the top here straight down, and you should be able to get that one. And I recommend using a 6-point, not a 12-point, because you don't want to strip that bolt back there. And that is pretty rusted on there, so hopefully I can get it off here. So like I said, not sure how much you guys are gonna see this, but 6-inch extension, and then I'm going over the top here. Try to get both hands in here. Once you get on it, you'll feel it. And then try to break it free here. Just try not to strip that out. So make sure you're on it real good. And let's see. Let's see if I can just reach it with my magnet here. It's kind of hard to get back in there. There we go. So that's what that looks like. And then on the driver's side here, you got another 10 millimeter bolt right there. So let's go ahead and loosen that one. See if I can just get it broken free here. Once you get that broken free, kind of hard using a socket wrench in here. So let me go grab a stubby gear wrench here. I think that'll work better. So there's that one. And then up top here, your oil feed line. Let's go ahead and pull those two 10mm off there. Then go ahead and follow that oil feed tube line down to the oil cooler there. And you can see that rusty bolt there. It's gonna be an 8mm. Go ahead and pull that one. Then go ahead and pull the oil feed tube here. It should just pop out of the oil cooler there. Just like that, and you can see that's the O-ring that holds it on into the oil cooler there. And then I'm gonna take just a rag here, just stuff it where that oil feed tube went. I don't want anything falling down in there. Just kind of shove a rag or something down in here. That way nothing falls down in there. Okay, so now let's see if we can get this turbo out of here. Got all three bolts loose, oil feed line there, and then the exhaust and all that. So I'm gonna kind of just pry right up here. Just kind of lift it up some there. Let's see if we can pull this out of here. You gotta kind of rotate it here. You can see I got it broken free there. Come over here. And just work its way out of here. Like I'm getting caught on the alternator here. Alright guys, so I can't seem to get that out. Not sure if I need to wiggle around a little more, but I'm hitting on my alternator here. And this is an aftermarket, as you can tell, alternator that I put on here. And you can see it almost sits higher, so I'm wondering if that's the issue, whereas the normal one sit down a little lower there. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the alternator here, just to see if that'll help and get it out of the way. Plus also I saw here I need to repair some wires on here anyways, so let's go ahead and remove that. So you got a connector here, you can disconnect. Go ahead and remove that. And then that'll be a 13mm, so go ahead and remove that. And then I like to just replace this so it doesn't get lost here. So now let's go ahead and relieve the tension on the belt. So I got this little tool here, works pretty good on these 6.0s to get down there on the belt tensioner pulley. Once you get in on there, go ahead and pull towards the driver's side, and I'm just going to slip it off the alternator here. Just like that. Try not to get it off of all the other pulleys. And then, like I said, I got an aftermarket alternator, so you guys will probably be different, but I got these three 13mm I need to remove. actually, I think it's just those two. This is just for that bracket there. Get this out of the way. So now with that out of the way, let's see if we got a little more room here now. And we can get this out of here. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, you got the turbo out here, and just looking around here. So I was looking for any play here on the wheel, and there is none at all, so that's good. You can see it's leaking just oil there. That's why I got in this drip pan here. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray around this clamp here with some WD-40, kind of like we did on the exhaust clamps. And then we'll go ahead and break this apart. So I'm just gonna kind of soak these in some WD-40 here. All right, so what I'm gonna do is make a mark here, and just gonna mark on this portion of the turbo, and then also here, and then our clamp. So just kind of a straight line here. That way we can put it back together exactly how it came apart. So if we just put a mark there, mark here, and then we'll go up to right here. Just as a reference, when we go to put it back, it's back together the same way. Next, go ahead and turn your turbo here. And we'll go ahead and get this clamp separated here. So grab your 7/16. I'm just gonna pull that whole nut off here. And just kind of spread this apart here. Just get it up out of the way there, kind of. So now we can separate it. So now I'll go ahead and separate it. What I like to do is just kind of hold it here. And just a little bit up off the bench. And then I'll hit it with a hammer here. See if we can separate it. You can see it's starting to separate there a little bit. Let me try just a little more here. So it's kind of like that. Okay, so taking a look here at our vanes, you can see they bind up a little bit. They're still moving a little bit here, but definitely need to clean this up and get some anti-seize on them. And then our unison ring here, and you can see it doesn't even want to. I'm gonna have to pry it off with a screwdriver, I think, to get it off here, and we're gonna have to clean it up as well. But this should be able to turn freely, and it's not. So I'll go ahead and start out by removing all these. And then what I'll be using is a kind of a Scotch-Brite pad. You can get these off Amazon. They got a whole pack of them. I'll put a link in the description for them. And then I'll just go along here, my angle grinder, just cleaning up all these areas here. Try to get rid of all that rust and soot and everything else. Okay, so I just got done cleaning that. I used, like I said, those Scotch-Brite pads, and then also combination with the wire wheel as well. And as you can see on here, there's a lot more pitting than I thought there would be. You can see there was just rust, and underneath that rust, it just started pitting this all over the place. So really, this turbo should be replaced. And it's only like 5 years old. I replaced it about 5 years ago. But thought I'd get away with cleaning it. So I'm just going to go ahead and try it. Since it's my personal vehicle, I'm not too worried about if I got to throw a new turbo in it later, I will. So we'll go ahead and try this though. So I'll go ahead and stick all these back on, and I did clean these up just a little bit too. You can see, just scrape them, and there's actually pitting on them as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'll use some anti-seize, and we'll put some anti-seize all along here, and then we'll put all these back in place, and we'll start on the unison ring. So like I said, just use some anti-seize like that. And I'll just go ahead and coat all this. And then once you get all that spread evenly, let's go ahead and stick these back in. Just set them on here. Just make sure they turn freely here. Now let's see if we can get this unison ring off here. I'm just going to take a flathead screwdriver, and let's see if we can just kind of pry on it here. A couple different areas. Like that. And then what you want to look for is, they say if this little spot right here is shaped like a bean, then it needs to be replaced. This one's actually looking okay still, so I think we'll be all right. So like I said, this should run freely on here, so it's definitely going to need to be cleaned up here. So I'll do the same wire wheel, Scotch-Brite pad, clean all this up, all this carbon and soot along here, and then also the inside of the ring here. Okay, so I went ahead and got that all cleaned up. You can see I got quite a bit of heavy pitting as well all along here. This surface doesn't really matter, but I went ahead and cleaned it up anyways. But right where the unison ring rides, I had to clean it up pretty good using, like I said, just these Scotch-Brite pads, and then also the wire wheel as well, which I kind of wore out, you can see. But I'll show you here. So if we put our unison ring on here, you can see that now we are able to spin freely, whereas before I couldn't even move this thing. It was seized on there. So that's a good thing. So let's go ahead and get this back together now. Okay, so go ahead and grab your unison ring here. And I put just a little bit of anti-seize on the tops of these. I'm not sure if it's going to do much or not, but so grab your unison ring, and if you flip it over here, you can see, so you got one side that has this little dot here. If you flip it over, the other side does not. And now this dot was facing up towards the other part of the turbo there. So we'll go ahead and do the same here. And then you got your mark here, and which will mark up with your clamp. And also, I think the other mark on the other part of the turbo there is going to be right where this is. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of stick this on here. And then you may have to move some of these vanes to get this to line up correctly. So just adjust these vanes as needed. So kind of like that. And then as you can see, so as this turns, it closes the vanes, and then it also opens them up here. So there's open, and that's closed. Then go ahead and grab your clamp, and there's my yellow mark there. So let's go ahead and stick that kind of like that. And this was rusted pretty good, so it may not go back together correctly, evenly. So again, line those up. So I think right there. You can see we're pretty even now. So I think what I'll do, just kind of press on this. You can see it's going together a little better there. So just kind of take a little mallet here, slightly tap on that. And looks like that's all together. Just like that. Just double check, like I said, just make sure that's together in all the places you can see. And actually looks like we got a little gap here. So now you can see going around, that's all back together. So then go ahead and get your clamp. You can bend this back out. Get that through there. Rotate it till your mark lines up here. Like I say, we're about right there. And then go ahead and grab your nut here. Get that started. And then you'll want to pay attention as you're tightening this, just to kind of get that lined up with the mark here. So I'll go ahead and tighten this up here. Keep that nice and tight. Okay, so before I go ahead and put the turbo back in, like I said, I have an oil leak. This fresh stuff is just from pulling the turbo, but you can see it's all soaked along there, and then it's running back down along my transmission and everything. So I wanted to take a look here, make sure the high pressure oil pump wasn't leaking, or that IPR valve there. I know that has a few gaskets on it, so that could be leaking as well. But really, it's hard to tell because I sprayed all this with WD-40 when I was trying to get this off. And I'm wondering if it could be this lower oil feed line here going in the high pressure oil pump there for the turbo. Because I'm going to replace these O-rings, and you can see that's supposed to be kind of loose, but let me go ahead and just pull this out of here. So I'm wondering if maybe it's this O-ring that failed and is leaking here. Because like I said, this is fresh here, but there's quite a bit piled up right underneath where that slides in here. So I'm wondering if it's that. So I think I'll just go ahead and try that. This O-ring here. I'll get this cleaned up, and if I got to come back in here and replace that IPR valve, I'll go ahead and do that. But I'll get all this cleaned up too, just some brake clean and wipe it down. And then looks like right here, here's that other piece for the VGT solenoid wiring connector here. So that must have broke just laying down in here. And I did get a new VGT solenoid connector here, so I may throw this on as well real quick. Okay, so as you can see, got the valley all cleaned up there, all that oil residue. Like I said, I'm hoping it's the oil tube going to the turbo from the high pressure oil pump. That O-ring was bad, is what I'm hoping. So I'll get all this back together. We'll see if it continues to leak. And I'm hoping it's not the high pressure oil pump or IPR valve or something, seals leaking on it. So, and then while I was in here, I just went ahead and rewrapped some of these wiring harnesses. I went with this braided stuff that's supposed to hold up to heat better instead of, you know, the basic black plastic that comes on these. They start to get brittle over time from the heat and everything. So I went ahead and rewrapped the ones I thought needed it. So hopefully that holds up better. And then while I was at it, I didn't record it, but I put on a new wiring harness here for the VGT solenoid going to the turbo. And as you can see on this one, it has this metal clip that just goes over it and it locks into place instead of the plastic clips that was on the original one here. So you can see I just spliced it in and show you here. So you can see it's exactly the same style here. Just flip it over. So same style connection, but I think this will clip on and hold it a lot better than this cheap plastic one. So before we put the turbo in, let's go ahead and replace these O-rings. Like I said, hopefully it's this one, but it doesn't really look bad, so I'm not sure if it was leaking from there or not. But I got this, so this is a whole new turbo install hardware kit for the Power Stroke 6.0. And I got this off Amazon, and it was supposed to be Ford. It even says right there, but as you can see, it says it's made in China, so I'm not sure if this is the original Ford or not, but I'll use it anyways. But I'll put a link in the description for this. And you can see that it comes with all new O-rings, and then also our gasket coming out of the top of the turbo there for the oil feed. And then also all new bolts for the turbo mounting, and then for the oil feed tube as well, and then the blue O-ring as well. So just go ahead and grab a pick here, and let's go ahead and get these old O-rings off. Just get up under them, both sides here. Pull those off. And then I got some fresh oil in this cap here. Take one of these new O-rings, and I'm just gonna use my finger here, and let's just apply a little bit of oil on here, just to lube it up a little better. And let's go ahead and stick that on here. Same with the other one. So just like that. And now let's go ahead and slide this into the high pressure oil pump here. And that'll just push down into this hole here. And then this little stand here sits right on top of these here. So go ahead and get that in down there. And push that in. Just slides in there like that. And now we should be ready to go ahead and put this turbo on. First I'm going to pull off this little gasket here though. Just kind of wipe that clean. Okay, so now it's probably the hardest part of this whole job. Is getting this turbo back in there and lined up correctly. So you got these little dowels here. You got one on the right side and one on the left of the turbo. And that'll fit into these little slot here cut out on the turbo bracket. And then I'm hoping the turbo drain tube there will be okay. Hopefully we don't have to remove that, pull it out some to get it in there. So let's go ahead and try it with it in there first. It's hard to get up in here without a creeper that overhangs the top. But let's go ahead and set this on in here. See what I'm hitting on here. There we go. So then again, try to get those dowels lined up, and then also get on top of your oil drain tube there. So you may have to maneuver it a little bit here. Looks like I might be getting caught on this down pipe here. Go. That should be good right there. And then as you can see, get my camera here. Just see this little dowel. That dowel's in right there. And then on this side, it's kind of hard to see, but it's lined up right back in there. There you go, now you can see it. And then also we're sitting right on top of that drain tube as well. And then go ahead and take your new 10mm bolts that came with the install kit. And I'm just gonna go ahead and get these started here. Just get a couple threads in there, but not tighten them yet. Now let's see if we can get our up pipe clamp here back into place. And try to get that spring, get it locked around the ring there. So you may have to push pretty hard on it. There we go. Get that in place, and let me grab my 7/16 and let's go ahead and tighten that up. You just don't want to go too much to where you're bending the clamp. Save right about there. Should be good. Then we'll go ahead and do the same for your down pipe here. And again, if you got the stock exhaust, you'll have a clip up here which will latch on top of the turbo here. So So just kind of get that in place. Clip around here. And I may need to go down below. See, I gotta lift up on my exhaust here. See if I can get this in place though. There we go. And then just adjust your clamp. So I'll do probably like that there. Let's go ahead and tighten that. And I'm just going to use my little impact here just to get it somewhat tight, because I'm going to have to lift up on this exhaust as I'm tightening it. Then I'll just go kind of the same as the other side. Try that right there. So now I'll go ahead and tighten up that very back bolt there with my 10mm, my 6-inch extension here. And I'll move on to this front one here. Just use my gear wrench for now, just to get it tightened here. And then of course the last one here. Then go ahead and grab your oil feed tube for your turbo. And let's go ahead and take off this blue O-ring here. Just kind of clean that up. Grab a new O-ring, came with your turbo install kit. And let's go ahead and put that on there. Then go ahead and remove your paper towel covering your hole there for the oil feed tube on your oil cooler there. Grab your tube and let's go ahead and snap that down in there. It should click into place with that new O-ring there. Kind of like that. And then up top here, grab your new gasket. Go ahead and set that in between here. Get that kind of lined up. Grab your 2 bolts. And now they don't supply you with new bolts for these top ones here, but they do supply you with a new 8mm for down there. So go ahead and get these started up here. Make sure your gasket lines up. And so actually this new one is a 10mm, not an 8. But the original one was an 8mm. So next, if you disconnected any of these sensors here, let's go ahead and plug those back in here. And then your VGT solenoid. So that's supposed to go up in this little bracket here, I think kind of like that. And then as you can see here, so this will go in here now like this. Actually lift this up Goes in there like that, and then you push it and it gets behind those two clips there. And now you can see how that's just locked on there. So that should work way better. There's no way that's coming out now. And then also I think this is supposed to snap up in here. So you just get it kind of like that. Next, go ahead and grab your alternator. And then go ahead and get your wires put back on here. Then go ahead and get your belt back in place here. Once you get that in place, go ahead and slowly let off on the tensioner here. Next, go ahead and grab your hot side of your intercooler pipe here. And then also inspect your boots here. This one I know is good because I replaced it a couple months ago. And then just went ahead and checked this one, and this one looks good too. So let's go ahead and stick these on here, on your intercooler, and then up to your turbo there. I'll try to get this one on first down here. You get on there, you see there's like these two little black tabs where that kind of stops at the boot there. Get your clamp on here. And then before I tighten that, I'm going to go ahead and get this top one on first. So then try to get this one on here. That on there. Get your clamp. And grab your 7/16. Get your clamp centered. And let's go ahead and tighten that. Same thing, tighten up your bottom one here. Just make sure it's up against those little notches there. Next, let's go ahead and get our wire loom disconnected from our bungee cords up there. And then go ahead and get your Aegis bottle back in. That little clip back in there. And then get these up into here. And go ahead and grab your clips here. Let's get this back into place. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my air intake and filter all back on here. Again, I got an aftermarket S&B filter, so yours will probably be different if you got the OEM one still. So let's go ahead and get this on, and yes, I do know I need to get a new air filter, so I'll probably have somebody commenting on that. Just need to get one ordered. And grab your pliers. Let's go go ahead and connect this hose here. I did replace this because the old one was kind of rotted out. So this is a new hose here. You go ahead and grab your 8mm. Let's hook up both batteries. All right guys, so that should be everything. Batteries are hooked up, and then just go ahead and double check everything. You know, make sure all your sensors, everything's back on, plugged in, and hooked up. And then check your belt one more time, and let's go ahead and start it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start it. Alright guys, so that sounds a lot better now, because before when I'd start it, it would just be muffled. You wouldn't hear that air flowing like that. So it seemed to fix that. And then just double check everything up here. And we'll go ahead and take it for a drive. Okay, so I went ahead and got out of the neighborhood here, and it's running awesome. My boost is back to normal, and everything seems just fine here. I don't know why this keeps going dim. But take it for a spin here so you can kind of see. But if I really get on it, I'm seeing right at about 22 PSI on the turbo boost. And then just normal driving, we'll see around 13, 14 or so. So that's totally back to normal. Whereas before I was pretty much getting nothing. And like I said again, my VGT duty cycle before was just staying stuck at 0.84, and now it seems to be doing just fine. Okay, so that's going to do it for the video. Again, this was a 2005 Ford Excursion 6.0 liter diesel. Went ahead and checked the MAP sensor hose going into the intake there. Also pulled the exhaust back pressure sensor and then the tube as well, cleaned that out. And then we also pulled the turbo, opened that up, and went ahead and cleaned that out. And I'm pretty sure my problem was the unison ring was frozen up. So those vanes were just staying open. That's why I was getting a muffled sound just coming out of the exhaust and no boost at all. So, and it was also throwing that P0299 code, which I erased. Checked those again, and it never came back. So I think that was my problem. So hopefully this video helps you out. If it does, why don't you subscribe to my channel? Check out all my other videos, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.